love you guys. Dance off, bro. I have the high ground. Expecto Patronum! 39 days. What people want. Survive.
On the Tribe of Nerds.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. Matt, Michael, and I are here for another Survivor interview, and we're really excited for this one. We have a two-time player with us. He's one of the biggest challenge beasts in Survivor history, one of the biggest characters from Survivor South Africa, Immunity Island, and Return of the Outcasts. Aquaman himself, Chappies, is here. Welcome, Chappies, to the Tribe of Nerds.
The Tribe of Nerds. It's such a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to answering some of the burning questions and just spending time with you, having some virtual coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always fun. It's always a pleasure. And you're one of my favorite players of all time. So,
oh, Jake, thanks so much, man.
Of course. So to kick this off, so when did you start watching Survivor and how did you get on the show the first time?
It's actually interesting you asked that because I thought about that today and I thought, listen, you guys are called the Tribe of Nerds. I'm like the furthest away from a survivor nerd that you can actually get. But I've got a very big passion for personal growth and I believe the only way, one of the most efficient ways you can achieve that through life is by challenging yourself, right? So in any case, about 5-6 years ago, I noticed that Survivor SA was airing again. And I actually noticed that the quality was decent because the new production team took over. So that was season 6 that I watched. Mm-hmm. So with Werner and them, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, was shot in the Philippines. Yeah. And then I'm like, man, this is good quality TV. It's good quality characters. The challenges are there. And that woke up something in me. I was like, I could see myself doing the show. And then the call for season 7 came up. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to enter for season 7. And then only I started with the idea of entering for a season. I started back watching some Survivors, because back in the days, I think I watched the first one in 2000 where Richard who won?
Yeah, Richard Hatch. Yeah.
And that was like amazing experience. And, but it was just kind of so far away because it's US for us South Africans, it would kind of never happen for you. So you lost interest over the years. But the moment it came closer to home and you saw that, the quality is good and there was the slightest chance that you might appear on it, it became more of a reality for me. So then I started back watching like a few US seasons, but some of the later seasons, a few Australian seasons, got hooked on some of the Australian seasons, and then obviously some of the South African seasons as well. So now I'm in this entry process of actually entering for Survivor Season 7, Survivor South Africa, and doing my homework because I really thought I was a good candidate. And long story short, you have to jump through a lot of hoops with the interview process and the casting process. And I jumped through all of the hoops. It's like 10 different sections you have to go through. And I came right to the last section where you have to interview with all of the directors around the boardroom table, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm confident. I'm going, and I get home the day after, they give me a call. They're like, "Hi, Chappies. Yeah, sorry, you didn't make it. Good luck, man." Boop. And your entire world just falls apart because you've already had this dream and this idea that you're going. You've told a few close family members and friends, in your close circle, and then all of a sudden this dream just shatters right in front of you. And that was actually season 7 where Rob won. I think you guys recently had an interview with him as well.
Yeah.
And nonetheless, I mourned for 2 or 3 days, and I was like, all right, listen, life is so much more than just Survivor. Survivor is amazing, but you gotta pick yourself up and go on. So I cried a little bit, And then I moved on. And then, strange enough, the opportunity came again. And this time it was like, I went in with kind of a revenge energy that I kind of wanted to show them, listen, you guys are going to be regretted that you didn't cast me the first time kind of energy. And, this, I am going to make the show. I'm going to give you guys a lot to, or I'm going to, how can I put it? I'm going to make the show worthwhile for you because I'm going to give it my everything. I'm going to leave my blood and sweat and tears on the table. Mm-hmm. And I also went in with the approach that, listen, I've already won the game. You just haven't seen it. That was my casting process. That was my angle. And I believe the directors wanted to see me fall, so they actually cast me. And what a beautiful fall it was in so many ways, and to this day, I will be so grateful just that I actually got that opportunity and that once in a lifetime experience and all of the beautiful lessons and experiences that I gained out of that. So sorry, I went a massive loop to answer your question. I wasn't a big Survivor fan at all, but it was a cool concept. But the moment I decided to enter, I became more of a fan, more of a student, started studying the psychological game, started studying the challenges as well. Just to give you an idea, I think something that played a big role in me winning a lot of challenges is while I studied some of the previous seasons, I would before the challenge starts, I would like pause the season, and then I would ask my wife, okay, what do you think is the best way to approach this challenge? Then she would tell me. Then I would say, okay, yeah, it's okay, but I think the best way is A, B, C, D, E. And in that way, I've kind of gone through a lot of the challenges psychologically, right? And that helps you as well, because the moment you then you put in front of a challenge and there's similarities, you're like familiar with it. And you've got that slight edge. You've got that 5% advantage among your peers. And I think that also, it helped me a lot studying the game. The moment I knew, listen, there might be the slightest chance I might appear on the game someday.
That's amazing. That's amazing to hear like your story and kind of like, the strategies you came in with too. So.
Yes. And I'm definitely glad they cast you, because I found your casting video online and I shared it with these two.
Yeah.
And it was a great one, especially how it ended. So I just want to say, congrats on that.
Thanks so Matt. So thanks so much, Matt. The idea was to like kind of convey, listen, I know you guys, I know the game behind the game. I've already won it. And then just right to the end, I just want to let you know, guys, I've done this entire series chat without any pants on. You're talking about that entry video, right? Because there was the other one as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was good. So you get cast on the show finally, and then was there any kind of mental or physical prep you did to get ready for the show?
Absolutely, yeah. So mentally, yes, I researched and studied the game, as I said, and then I also kind of visualized myself winning the game quite a lot. As I trained physically as well, I would kind of just imagine, listen, I'm going in with this winning energy. I see myself winning. I'm going to say it in some sort of way, and it must radiate from me as well without necessarily using words. But in some cases, I did use words. But yeah, mentally, I prepared quite a lot, watched a lot of seasons, and then also just visualize myself. I think those are the two mental kind of preparations I've spent the most time on. And then also that falls also under mental preparation, I would say, is studying the psychological game and human behavior, which I also kind of did. So I read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. That was a book that I kind of studied while I was in the 14 days before you enter the game in the hotel, in the lockup, kind of studied that book and just took one or two concepts away from it. And then physically as well, I am quite, active. as I'm very active, and that's a lifestyle for me. But I just turned it up a notch, knowing that I'm going to have to do challenges, and it's most probably going to be with little or no food at all. But nothing could prepare me for how bad that actually was. Nothing can prepare you for what you are going to go through mentally and physically on a game like that. And so I almost want to say it doesn't matter how much you prepare, you'll never be prepared enough for what's to come. The moment they unveil, they pull up the curtains and you're on that island, things start getting real very quick. So that I hope that answers your question, Matt.
Oh, it does. Thank you.
So you get out there on the island. What were those early dynamics like on Vuna?
I think if there's one thing that you'll never forget, if you had the opportunity to take part in the game of Survivor, is that initial excitement when they take off for us, they took off our buffs and we had to walk in a straight line down to the beach. That excitement and that unknown mystery that surrounds you, and then all of a sudden you see all of those cameras standing there, and you go line up there, and you see Nico, the host, and you're like, okay, this is real now. And you look around, and you're like, okay, but these are all kind of strangers. Who's going to be in my tribe? There's so much uncertainty in the air the first few hours, and it fades away. But the first few hours was so much uncertainty mixed with excitement and enthusiasm, because everyone is there to win the game. Everyone is now there to make friends as well, in order to ensure that the friends carry them through right till the end. But just to get back to your question, Michael, so that was the initial section on the beach. But then moving to our tribe as Vuna, that was really amazing, because it felt as if we were really chosen, specifically chosen to be together, because there was a kind of a synergy there. It really felt like, in some sort of way, it was misfits as well, that were put together, but with a lot of potential. And it was really amazing the first few hours. And then, you obviously start to get to know people a bit more. And one of the first people I got to know on that beach was them Redhead Santuni. And it's just amazing how, actually Santuni and Anesu, it's amazing how in such a short while you can resonate with other individuals, or you can very quickly feel comfortable with specific individuals. And Santuni and Anesu were some of the first individuals that I actually communicated and resonated with. And then Paul Caputo as well, the interesting character that he is. But very, very exciting vibes at Vuna the first few hours, and then also leading into the first few days.
Yeah. So within the first few days, you're also elected to go take on Jason in the fire making challenge.
Yeah, get goosebumps, man. Oh, that was cool. Shit. I mean, if there's one thing that you want to do as a Survivor player, is you want to make fire, right? That's like, you want to do the fire challenge. To get to do that on day 1 or 2. Fuck yeah, I'll put my hand up there.
That's amazing. So you do beat Jason, and you do in diplomatic immunity as well. Did you ever consider using that in the game, or?
Yeah. That diplomatic immunity was kind of interesting. I didn't understand it that well at first, because it was the first time I was introduced to the idea. And I think it's mainly also because I haven't seen it in other seasons before, and also because I wasn't such a big Survivor fan before I entered. But there was an instance, and it was after we swapped tribes for the first time, where I was just at Zamba. So Vuna was a very cool camp, just the setup like. And then when we went to Zamba, it was also kind of cool, but it wasn't as cool as Vuna. And then we started losing challenge after challenge. And I was this close to actually using that diplomatic immunity. If if we lost another challenge, because we had tribe swap, and then I ended up in Zamba, right, which was the other tribe. And then we lost a few challenges. And we were about to go do one more challenge. And I was ready to tap out and just jump over. But then it was a tribe swap again, luckily, and I actually discussed the idea to jump over to the other tribes with my tribe member Santuni and them, which was also in the Zamba tribe, which was now the first tribe swap. And they just said, no, just stay on, we won't vote you out. And so because I was getting paranoid, and I thought, listen, if we lose another challenge, they might just vote me out, because some of my my allies were being voted out, like Paul. They blindsided me with Paul. And then when you're blindsided like that and you keep on losing challenges, paranoia starts creeping up. You want to start making desperate moves, And just luckily we had the next tribe swap, which was a saving grace.
Yeah, very much seemed like a lot of stuff then started to go your way once that other tribe swap happened.
Absolutely, yeah. It's interesting how you can feel the momentum shift in your favor at certain parts of the game. And if it's against you, there's very little that you can do. So, sometimes it's just for you, and other times it's against you, and you can only do so much.
Right.
But that's what makes it beautiful as well. It creates this unpredictable storyline that's going to evolve.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in episode 2, you have a really interesting confessional where you talk about wanting to make a close relationship with Santoni, because if she starts getting sent to Immunity Island, you kind of weaponize the island in order to get information. So what went into that plan? What was your relationship like with Santoni?
Yeah, that's actually interesting you asked that, Michael. So from my experience in studying the psychology of some of the other games in the past, I've seen that obviously we knew that Immunity Island might be an island that you get sent to, or you have to send one of your team members if you lose a challenge. I can't remember if Nico actually explained that to us. I think he did, and that's why I knew, listen, if we lose a challenge, one of our tribe members almost probably going to be sent there. And normally it's the weakest player, physical weakest player that's being sent, And Santuni, she seemed like the physical weakest player. And I think in a lot of people's eyes, they also thought she's, physically weak. And I just thought, if there's the slightest chance that someone's being sent to Immunity Island, it's going to be her. And it's a bonus now. I've already had a relationship with her, but now I just wanted to make sure I get a little bit closer, so that if there's any vital info on the Immunity Island, I get some of that info as well. And I believe in some sort of way it was a decision that saved me quite a lot of times later on in the game, and I'll tie that through a bit later so that you guys understand it as well. But looking back, that was actually, it seemed like such a non-strategic move, actually, but it was a strategic move that really helped me in the game a lot further down the line. That saved my ass a few times.
Yeah, I agree. Like early in the game, I really liked you as a personality on the season. That was the first time where I was like, I like this guy as like a strategic player. I thought that was a really smart move.
Yeah. No, I must say with Santoni as well, befriending her came natural, but then I realized this lady is socially up there. She's willing to pull a few moves socially that I wasn't willing to pull. And I was like, I can definitely make use of that. This lady, she's going to go far in the game, much further than people's going to think. And if I can just also, keep close to her, I'm going to have in some of that info. But the relationship was very genuine right from the start to the end. And even to this day, we speak on a frequent basis. So, yeah, it was just a bonus that I realized they might send her, and we can maybe tap into that info that she might gain.
Speaking of episode 2, that is when you go to your first tribal and Pinty is voted out, but you are unfortunately on the wrong side of the vote. So walk us through that, what it was like to be on the wrong side as your ally goes home.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Although it seems like I was on the wrong side, I was actually 100% in a no, and I was also, the person actually one of the people motivating that decision, and it actually it's my feeling around Pinty kind of changed at some point when she started to become a lot aggressive in playing the game a lot early on. And I thought, all right, maybe I can just make her aware of her aggressive gameplay and that she's stepping on other people's toes. And I actually took her aside and said, listen, Pinty, there's a few people that are unhappy. You stepped on their toes. And I still tried to throw her a lifeline. And when I tried to throw her that lifeline, she just like took her scissor and cut the line. And I was like, right, Pinty, I really try to help you now, but I'm not going to tell you you've just cut the line, And so I just kind of let it happen then. So, it seemed like I was not in the know. And fortunately, I was in that case. But I could see it was a big blow for her. But I had to make as if I was not part of the vote for future gameplay, future strategy.
Smart play then.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, speaking of a smart play, so this tribe swap happens. You end up on the new Zomba. And this is where you and Paul and Santoni make this move to blindside Mike and flip on your original tribe at the swap. So walk us through that decision.
Yeah. I think Mike, I kind of didn't gel with Mike that well in Vuna because he was, going on his own walks with Carla the whole time. And there was a kind of energy there that I could feel was, I couldn't synergize with. And then he actually brought up my name, I think, earlier in Vuna. It was like, he wanted to vote. My name came up and Pinty's name came up. So I knew that, but I didn't tell him that. And that kind of sits in the back of your head. So the moment you get the opportunity to throw a stone, you're going to aim for that person who mentioned your name. And so we did that tribe swap and he was first in line. And something he was also for it, if I can remember well. If I remember correctly. And then Paul just followed, and we got to vote out Mike. And I must say, I think the Pinty move was one of, to allow the Pinty move was the first kind of introduction to the villain side within us as well. But then voting out Mike after promising him that we're going to vote together, that was like solidifying the villainous side of one, which you should have in the game, But that came very easy, strange enough. Like it was, it felt too easy voting out Mike in the sense that I felt, listen, I've got to read on this game like no one else has. I knew Pinty was going, Mike is next. And then all of a sudden, with the next vote, I think it was the next vote when they blindsided me and voted out Paul. I was like, "You don't know shit, boy." You don't know shit. It's like your whole world comes crumbling down with a blindside, like because Santini was in on it as well, but was actually her diverting the votes to Paul rather than me. So she kind of saved my ass in the one sense, but she also betrayed me in other sense because she couldn't tell me it's Paul. But afterwards, I understood, why it had to happen. So, but just voting out Mike went so easy. I felt on top of the world, and I felt, listen, there's my way straight to the end. I can see it with the winner, survivor, immunity island, but no way. Drop of a dime, the game can change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So another big moment of the season is the double tribal council where both tribes go and Samba 2.0 vote out Carla. So what went into that decision to take out Carla there?
Yeah, I think Zamba 2.0 realized that Carla was kind of a loose cannon, especially after we voted out Mike. She was very emotional and her behavior was irrational. She also started, thinking about the game very emotional and irrational, and that's like a ticking time bomb. And we utilized that to throw some votes on her and turn some of her, some of the people that she bonded with as well, kind of turned them against her, like Sean and Anela. But she was. I think if she could just contain herself emotionally, she would have been a very dangerous player because she is smart. She is smart and she's a beautiful lady, and she could have gone really far in that game by using, just making sure that she doesn't overreact emotionally, and she still thinks about it logically. She's also a very big Survivor fan. But yeah, it was actually good we got Carla rather sooner than later, because she was quite a big threat. And after that, it felt like we were on our way to some smooth sailing again, with the exception that we actually kept on freaking losing challenges. That was a major concern, because if you keep on losing challenges, it's only a matter of time before you're on the chopping block.
Right.
Well, in episode 6, you have what I consider one of the greatest challenge performances ever. So, can you walk us through that challenge and what it was like to become the true Aquaman, even though your name is Chappies Water Swim?
Yeah. So, there was. I feel like sometimes, even in life, I used to say this quite a lot in the game, even in life, but there's so many similarities for me between the game of Survivor and life. Sometimes in the most harsh, adverse conditions, it's like you get the opportunity to experience magical moments if you're willing to believe that they exist around us. And that was, for me, one of those really, truly special, magical moments of my entire life and of the season for me, because it's not something that you can plan. It's only something that you can experience if you're fully in the moment. And the challenge obviously started off the way it did. And when you notice that someone's life is in danger, for me, like everything else goes out the door. And you make that now a priority, because someone could die. Yes, we are playing a game, but fuck the rules. That person's life is in danger. And it was kind of strange for me on the one side how people could just keep on watching this as if this tragedy unfolding in front of us without doing anything. But on the other hand, I think some of the people also thought that, listen, he's going to be all right just now, or, lifeguard's going to jump in and save Anela. I'm talking about Anela now. But everything within me wanted just to stop the game and just help this guy now, because we're going to lose a person. We're going to lose a life here, and it's not worth the game to lose a life. And so I think it's just like instinct taking over in that sense. And luckily, I am a strong swimmer, because it is something that I do on a very frequent basis. I love the water. I've always loved the water, very comfortable in it. I kind of know my limits as well. But I could see that, listen, I could possibly help that person. And man, I can just remember, now it's already been a few days that you're in, and you're already malnourished. You've already lost some muscle mass. You don't have your energy levels. So the moment I jumped up in the water, you're immediately aware of the cold water, how dirty it is, that you can't actually see, because when you swim in like an Olympic pool, it's nice and clean. You can follow the straight line. So now you must swim, come up, look where you are, swim in the straight, try and swim in a straight line again. And then this person just goes further and further because it rained a lot and this river was strong. The current was pulling him. And then I reached the Nela. And then all of a sudden, you also remember, listen, if you don't keep this guy calm, he's going to drown you, because that's happened in the past. So the first kind of thing that came to mind was just to keep him calm, because he had something to hold on to, right? And if you could just hold on to that, I might be able to just inch by inch kind of get him to land. And that was such a tiring experience with Anela, because he's quite a heavy guy. So what I would do is I would swim a breaststroke and then get close to him, push him, and then push myself away in the process. But he would then move forward a few inches. And then I have to catch up to him again, push him a few inches, and then pushes me back, and repeat that. So the small section that was displayed on TV, I think it took that, just getting Anela out of the water took about 15 to 20 minutes, then you are so tired, and then you're still thinking of this challenge, or even you must keep on going with the challenges. And then Santoni also jumped in. You could easily see that and hear that she was very uncomfortable in the water. And then luckily she wasn't as far down in the river as Anela was. But I've already spent most of my energy on getting Anela safe. And it's just like, once again, attention shifted from the challenge to getting this person safe. And then only after everyone was out of the water, and I started going back for the other puzzle pieces, there was one stage where I thought, I might drown you today. And that was like going back for the last puzzle piece. And I'll also never forget that, because Sean had a cramp. He was supposed to get 2 puzzle pieces. Yeah. And I was supposed to get 2 puzzle pieces. And they just like, Sean is back, and they're like, who's going to get the last one? I said, Sean. And he's like, no, and he's got a cramp. And I thought I'll go back, but I don't know what my body's going to do, and it's like, you just take it one stroke at a time, and you take a breath one stroke at a time, and maybe some breaststroke. And this one moment, this massive fish kind of jumped in front of me as well. And I had the fright of my life, because what's in the back of my head as well is, in South Africa, we have sharks swimming up rivers. I'm like, yes, that's in my mind as well, the whole time, in the back of my mind. And now you get this fish jumping straight into you while you're swimming, and you immediately think, shit, shark or whatever, but you have to continue. Listen, you have to go get that puzzle piece. And then that is where I could really feel my energy levels like drop almost to the degree where I could not swim anymore, and I think, you'll never know how close you were to actually drowning, but I was just taking it one stroke at a time. And sometimes, in that case, I really believe that you must have received the energy supernaturally some other way to just continue to move forward, because all my reserves were drained after that. But strange enough as well, that's one of the moments that I replay the most in my head, that entire challenge. Even when I swim, every time I get in the water and I think about that, it's like I relive that. And it's actually a beautiful memory for me, although it was so dangerous, if I could put it that way. It's as if nothing else mattered in that moment except just doing what you have to do, whether it was to save the people's lives or just make sure that you don't die. But you were so aware of all of those emotions going through you as well. And where do you buy that? Where do you buy that type of experience? That it was, and just once again, it was one of the coldest, shittest days, one of the most difficult challenges swim-wise. So the elements were all against us, but it was one of the best experiences of my life. And just once again, like, if we open ourselves up to look for the beauty within the storm, and if we believe it's there, we're most probably going to see it some other time. And that was it for me there.
Well,
Yeah, it was crazy performance.
Yeah, that was amazing.
I just remember being in awe as I was watching it. I was like, he's going back out again?
Yeah, thanks, guys. It was such a privilege.
Yeah. Well, so after that incredible performance, we get to the other tribe swap, and you end up back on Vuna with Rainier, Amy, Nicole, Anesu, Sean, and Marisha. So, I mean, what were the dynamics like on the Vuna 3.0?
Well, first of all, I was just so happy to be back in Orange, to be back at Vuna, because it was the better camp. And I had Anesu there as well, which is luckily one of my close allies as well. So I felt there's a lifeline or two over there, luckily. And the dynamics were very good. But we could feel some tension in the air starting to rise. Marisha was there as well, and they didn't like me that much. And Nicole as well, she didn't like me that much. And I understand why, because we didn't know each other, But it was a nice vibe. We had we actually had one night under the stars where I kind of serenaded everyone, because I love music as well, and sang a few songs, serenaded everyone. Everyone was right on the beach under the stars, and it was such an amazing experience as well. Even well knowing that the next day we must probably going to have to slash each other's throats, we just embraced that as well, and it's such a cool experience to experience the different tribes as well after tribe swaps, and the different dynamics, and to get to know the people that don't like you, and to spend some time with them. It's very strange characters that's been cast for a good reason, and it's entertaining to get to know these people, because sometimes you can't believe what you see and you can't believe what you hear. These people are, in their own right, they are so entertaining. And now you kind of combine them with other characters that bring out their character even more, like Marisha, Nicole, and Rainier. They were like three musketeers, but it was a good experience with Vuna, and I had a lot of optimism. And luckily I think we then won most of our challenges in Vuna, which was the thing that mattered most for me, because that increases your chances of just moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you had some fun conversations that made the air, like yours with Rainier and him saying he was going to take out his little minion sword. And
yeah, Rainier. Yes, I can remember my father-in-law when he watched that season with us, right? Yes, when he saw that Rainier saying, "Yes, I'm going to chop off this little, whatever with his sword," my father-in-law went and raged. He wasn't even a Survivor fan, but he was just like, do you speak to my son-in-law like that? Kind of vibes. And it was just so fun. But also, once again, Rainier, the Survivor fan that he is, saying that, you must probably add a lot of confidence. But in this game, you never know. It could really turn in a matter of seconds. And then luckily for me, it did turn in my favor. And I think Rainier regretted saying that little section, but it made good TV, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you managed to survive this next tribe swap, and you make it to the merge. And at the merge feast, you tell Warder that about the videos from home that you guys got, which upset Sean. So what went into the decision to tell Warder that, besides a couple of glasses of wine, obviously?
I almost forgot about that. My intention was really just pure. My intention was to kind of to convey to her that, listen, your family members must probably also make videos for you, because so it's out there in the universe. So just imagine them telling they love you, and me trying to be really genuine and trying to put a blanket over her. I think she kind of most probably took that up the wrong way. Kind of me rubbing it in her face that we got that. And, I think she got emotional about it. I can't remember that well. But the thing with me and Warda is there were a lot of misperceptions right from the start. And I think it pulled through the entire game of one another. And not just misperceptions, but I also misstepped here or there where I said something that I intentionally meant well, but that came out the wrong way. And that then she took up the wrong way as well. It started a lot earlier in the game. So I think that just added on that, where I really wanted to make amends with her and share some info with her. Yeah, that was the other kind of thing. Share info with her to show her that, listen, I actually want to get to know you. I want to share some info with you and show you that I do trust you. No, none of the other people know that. And I just want to tell you that we saw these videos. Yeah, and the red one did play a role as well, because it takes them barriers off and then breaks, So, but I think I would have still done it without having like a red wine, because my intention was to make amends with her and maybe give her something that she would appreciate, which obviously didn't turn out the way I wanted to.
Yeah, to me, the way you brought it across, came across to me, so it really just backfired from a pure moment from you.
So you saw it that way as well, Michael? Or?
Yeah, I saw what you were trying to do with it. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, so once again, it shows you that sometimes your intentions can be really good towards another person. Doesn't matter how good it is. If they are not in the right mind space, they're not going to be able to accept it. And then you mustn't kind of be at the place where you take offense because they can't accept it. You must try and understand why they react the way they do.
Speaking of the merge, so you guys get back to camp, and then Anella sends you on a wild goose chase with some idol clues. So at what point did you realize it was a trick? Because it did give us some great moments from you.
I realized it was a trick the moment I watched the freaking season. What a great play. But man, and that was like, I couldn't believe it. You guys won't believe the stunts I pulled. Trying to freaking find the idol that the clue gave us. I was literally Spider-Man crawling under our
shelter.
Shelter, yeah, under the shelter. I was in there upside down, and then someone saw me and called Marisha closer, and I was out like that. I don't know how I came out like that, but I was trying to look for that freaking idol area. I couldn't find it, and I truly believed that I was just missing something. So I was like, never die, just keep on going, keep on searching, you're gonna find it. Meanwhile, back at home, back at the ranch, and Nela and them are having the time of their lives. But that also was good TV, so I don't regret him sending me on this wild goose hunt. But I swore when I saw that season. I swore a few times, and then I laughed when I saw that episode.
Yeah, the early Chappies may get the coconuts, but it doesn't get the idol.
No, I don't get the idol. I just want to backtrack a bit just to show you how things actually work out the way they should. So Santini went on to Immunity Island. She got info that there was an idol, some location at the water well. It was something like, it gave a location where the sun comes up and so forth. So that was just before we had our first tribe swap. So now I told Paul this. Listen, there's an idol. Sorry. Just before the tribe swap, I'm still in Bruna. I got this info from Santini, but now we went to the challenge, so I couldn't go search for this idol at Bruna. So now we get to the tribe swap where we have this challenge, and Paul and Tyson kind of go at each other. I don't know if you can remember that. And then Santoni told Paul, listen, there's an idol at the water well. You have to tell Tyson. And Paul actually gets this info over to Tyson. So Tyson goes and he got this idol. And in the meanwhile, I thought, okay, well, the same info might be true for the Zamba tribe as well. That's why I searched for the idol there. I don't know if you guys saw that section. I dug up quite a big piece of land there and searched for the idol. And if I got that idol, I would have definitely played it at some of the tribal councils with Zamba, especially where like Carla got voted out. I might have played it there. And long story short is Tyson went and he found the idol at Vuna. I can't remember who he played that first idol for. I think for himself.
Yeah.
I think for himself. And then we had the tribe swap where Tyson ended up in Zamba. That was Zamba 3.0.
Yeah.
He found that idol as well.
Yeah.
He found that idol as well. And if I found that idol, I would have played it much earlier for myself. But he found that idol, and later along the game, he played that idol for me. So when I look back, I was like, man, that's why I wasn't supposed to find the idol, because I didn't have the ability to play it correctly. I would have wasted it because of paranoia and fear, and he had to find it. And although he was my enemy and later on in the game, he had to find both idols, and it worked out exactly the way it did in order for my story to go further. So that's just what I wanted to tie in. We had to get the info from Santoni. It had to reach a specific individual, although it reached myself as well. I wasn't destined to find the idol for a reason. That sometimes in the moment it's like the shittest thing, because you were this far away from it and you didn't find it. What the hell? But looking back, you're like, oh, now I understand why I should not have found it. It makes sense because I would have misplayed it. Yeah. So just connecting some of the dots that really made a lot of sense to me.
Everything worked out though.
Yeah.
It worked out beautifully.
Well, let's get to this first post-merge tribal where Tyson does play his idol for you. You get your vote stolen by Anella, and so you get saved, and Marisha is blindsided. So, like, what was that roller coaster of emotions like for you?
Once again, the roller coaster was just moving forward the whole time with me in it, right? But it was an up and down forward. And the reason I say that is because I knew what was going to happen, but I had to play along as if I'm in the back seat and I don't know what's going to happen, So, but that was also, it was also one of the most memorable experiences, because you know what's about to happen right here, right now. The only thing that I was still concerned about was whether Tyson would actually do it or not, because we weren't that close, and I didn't know. He didn't have any survivor experience as well. Just by the way, he didn't watch any games, I think, before he entered. He just entered for survivor, So that also was a concern for me, because I thought, does he really know what a big of an impact it will make if he plays the idol for me? Or, and is he brave enough to do it, or is he too scared that he's rather going to play it for himself? And up to the point where he stood up and walked to Nico and said, I want to play this idol, I thought he might still say, I want to play it for myself. He might still want to play it for himself. And then when he said he wants to play it for me, it's like, it's one of the best feelings in the world. It's like this roller coaster keeps on going up, that. And then the moment Tyson played that idol, it's like when you just free fall and you're like, woo! You just relax. You just see bodies flying out of the roller coaster. And
roller coasters are different in South Africa then, apparently.
I'm talking about the Survivor roller coaster, man. You see the damage is caused, and you kind of feel good in that moment, because that damage was intended for you. But it very quickly backfired in this game, So it's actually so harsh. And malevolence, if you think of it that way, that you kind of that you felt good in someone else's pain. But it's like, it's almost just having the feeling of, you see, you guys had it coming for me. You see what happens when you have it coming for me? It's gonna come back at you 3 times as hard. That was just amazing. Yeah, the beautiful orchestra that that we were to witness at that tribal council. It was amazing gameplay. And then going back to your camps with that energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, there's people that's really out to get you now, that hates you for, like, you know, everything you're in their ability or capability, they hate you now. But, you know, and that you know you're going to face that now. Tribal council's over, but, you know, this vibe is going to still last for a few days. And it did.
Yeah, because I mean, hitting Marisha and getting her out of the game was huge because it broke up like a trio potentially. You know, it really changed a lot.
Yes, it did. Hitting Marisha, she was a big player. She was like a mother of that trio as well, in a sense. So that was a big shift in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then the next board out is Sean, who's, you know, seemed to be in a good position coming into merge. This changes everything up. So what went into that decision to take out Sean at this point?
Yeah, just the vibe around Sean at that stage wasn't that nice.
He seemed mad.
Yeah.
Yes,
Just a little.
He seemed very mad because he was blindsided as well, right? Yeah. And to a degree, I don't know if it's completely like that. That was my experience. Is that he didn't want to be there, you know, anymore. That was the kind of vibes I got. Not that he didn't say it, but you could see like the game was really starting to take a toll on his energy levels, on his body, and that was the vibe that I got. But I also, and the rest of the tribe members that were aligned with me knew that Sean was a dangerous guy. He's a very intelligent guy, but he was starting to lose grip on the game because of the physical, just the physical factor, and I think also the emotional factor, because you were starting to lose grip because of that. Being blindsided is unacceptable, and now you must take the next step, kind of thing, instead of knowing that the blind side is unacceptable and calmly pursuing your next step. He was making it too aware that this guy's out for blood, and I think it was the most obvious choice just to get him out as well, because you'd have the snake's head cut off. He was one of the more clever guys strategy-wise, and with him, the snake's head cut off, you can very easily deal with the rest of the body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So then the next episode 10, is this Tied Destinies twist. So what did it feel like to get your destiny tied with Santony? And like, what did you think of the twist itself?
Yes, to get my destiny tied with Santony, I couldn't believe what was happening, because the chances of that happening, being tied with your ally by drawing rocks, it was 1 out of, I can't remember how many, but it is so slight, because Amy and Renier, the 2 allies, tied up. Santony and I tied up. Was the other ones? It was
Tyson and Borda.
Yeah. Nicole and Nella. It was just crazy how everybody just tied up, like how it happened.
It's like everyone who, and I don't know if it's completely like that, but it's almost as if everyone who had a close relationship with each other got tied up. The closest relationship with each other got tied up. And that was freaky for all of us, because we couldn't believe it was happening, you know. It was like it was scripted. That's how it feels, but it could not have been, because we drew rocks, which was complete random. But, you know, there is a bigger scripting hand behind all of it. But for me, that was just crazy to see that. And to be with Santony, I was like actually really positive that we are going to be okay, because either one of us should just win the challenge. Then it guarantees both of our safety. And then, man, the challenge arrived, and what a shitty challenge that was. Man, that was, it seems so easy, guys. Some of these challenges that you see on TV is like, oh man, only 5 minutes. What's wrong with you? And then you go do that yourself. You stand there and you start experiencing pain and that you've never felt in your life. It's pain and discomfort that you've never felt in your life. And then, obviously, we then lost that challenge, but just thank goodness our relationships were aligned in the way that we got to vote out Renier and Amy, which was really kind of a buy one get one free deal for us, So I must say, it was kind of bad for them because it was like sell one, sell another one for nothing vibe for them, but for the people on the winning side of that decision, it was really a bonus. I know there's a lot of fans that don't necessarily like the tie destinies because you get 2 players eliminated immediately. But it's something interesting that you don't see happen often. So, and if it brought up any type of emotion with viewers, it's good. That's what makes reality TV good. They want to bring up the emotion within the viewers. If you hate it, it's good. We like the emotion. If you love it, like the emotion.
Yeah, it makes things more interesting to throw a twist like that into the works and, just make it more interesting.
So. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I absolutely love this twist. It's one of my favorites. It just mainly because it led to something really unique in Survivor in the double confessionals with the 2 players having confessionals together, which is so unique.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
I forgot about that where we had the double confessionals, but that was also such a special moment for me because Santoni would sit right next to me and I would hear her confess and she would hear me confess. And then she'd say in front of the camera, but you're going to win, we're going to make sure that you win. And then that really felt so genuine. It didn't feel as if she was setting me up to slice my throat somewhere down the line. It was so special because I could feel that she's genuine and I would just hug her in that moment. It was such it was solidifying our relationship to the next level as well, having that confessions. Just imagine how interesting that would have been if we were tied up with our enemies, Man, that would have made great TV as well.
Yeah. I mean, that entire relationship with Santoni over the course of the season just very much felt really genuine. So it very much came across that way.
It was very, very genuine. She's like my older sister that I never had.
So also in this, in episode 10, you have Operation Destiny come to play with Anesu, where you potentially decide to take out Warder and Tyson, but it kind of falls apart. So was that something that was changed to tribal, or did you consider doing it?
Yeah, we actually considered doing that, I think, a lot earlier in the game. Getting Warder out, if I can remember correctly. And I can't remember how we came on the name, but Anesu and I spent a lot of time together as well on the beach, sometimes foraging and talking. And she was one of the characters that, although it didn't seem like it on TV, we had a very, very close relationship as well. So much different than our Santoni and I, because Santoni was the more radical person, pulling the radical moves, and Anesu was the more grounded person, bringing kind of calm approach, very, very intelligent, and also socially very, very connected. So both Anesu and Santoni, I would actually say they were without knowing it, my golden tickets right to the end, or surviving a lot of the stages. But yes, just to come back to your question, at some stage, we wanted to call ourselves the Destiny 3, which was Anesu, Paul, and I. Which was the Destiny 3. Or it was Anesu, Santoni, and I, because Paul was voted out then, if I remember correctly. So it was like this Destiny 3. And that was now how we came about the Operation Destiny, to get out some of the people. And the first person would be Warda, because the vibe wasn't lacquer. And it's and nothing against Wara today, but around camp, it wasn't uh, um, convenient to be around her at camp because it was just this kind of darkish, heavy energy that we experienced at that stage. And looking back now, I understand why, because she felt like an outcast among all of us, and she didn't like me quite a lot. But yeah, that was Operation Destiny. We had to let them drop first, Wardo or Tyson, or either way, we just had to start making dents. And I think that's when I actually got blindsided again.
Before you get blindsided, you win your first immunity challenge when you go up against Nicole when the rest of the tribe sits out.
Yeah.
So what was that like? And I have a couple of follow-up questions after that.
Yeah, there was a swimming challenge, right?
Yeah, it was the one where you had to dive under the platform and go under and put the rings.
Yes, even though I'm very comfortable in water, that was a scary challenge because you have to dive under that platform and you have to stay calm under that platform. You pull yourself under a rope, but you're under the water the entire time, and in the middle there's a space where you can breathe. But I just thought, so I'm not going to breathe there. I want to save some time and make sure that I win Nicole, because she was also quite a good swimmer. She's a very athletic person. And I thought, I'm not going to take any chances. I'm going to make sure I just complete this challenge as fast as I can. And then I also had that reward that they could eat some spaghetti. And I just thought it's a good opportunity, because if I sat there, I would have really loved if the person just gave us some more time to eat, because the rules were, if the moment the challenge is finished, you have to stop eating. And I thought, all right, but let me just ensure that I'm so far ahead that we can give them as much time to eat as possible, and then that I can still win the challenge. And that was actually a very cool challenge. But just once again, now if I look back, I didn't realize how much weight I've lost by then already, and how weak you are on the water. And I could feel it. I could really feel it.
So then my follow-up questions was, what is the favorite challenge that you have ever done? And is there any challenge from any of the Survivor seasons you would want to take part in?
So the favorite challenge that I've ever done, you mean in our season, right?
Yeah, that or Return of the Outcasts, but you really only did two.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, I must say it's such a interesting question, Matt, because every challenge has its own unique beauty and unlocks very unique emotions within you. So it's almost asking me, which child do I love the most?
Okay.
But if I must say which challenge meant the most for me, it's most probably because I had such a spiritual and emotional connection to it. It's the swimming challenge where we had to get all the puzzle pieces and so forth. That was really amazing for me. But I do also love puzzles within challenges. So the other challenge that really stood out for me, there was actually two, was the ones that ended with puzzles. It was the one with the puzzle board that you kind of add to the balls. And interesting enough, that was one of the challenges that I saw on another Survivor season doing my homework, where I kind of figured out the logic of what is the quickest way to get these balls in the correct order. And so the moment I saw that challenge, like, my mind immediately raced back to what I saw and putting the balls in the correct order before we even jumped into the water. So that was amazing. The puzzle in a challenge brings another dynamic because it's a game changer. It could very easily put you in the lead. It could very easily make you lose a game. The excitement, I get goosebumps when I think about it. The excitement you experience when you're there building this puzzle. We had this puzzle building blocks as well when we were the final four with Tyson. And the fact that these people are building the puzzle right next to you, man, that you're getting anxious as crazy. Like, you can't believe how anxious you are. But that brings such a amazing element to the game as well, because you feel so alive, and you must keep yourself calm, because you can very easily lose your shit and lose the challenge. But that's where you must kind of think calmly through it. So I would say anything with a puzzle at the end, anything with some swimming involved, that's for me.
Awesome.
The next episode of the season is one of my absolute favorites, the clash of the Titans between Anesu and Kieran. And Anesu
Yes.
ends up getting blindsided at this tribal council, and she gives you her tribal pass as she leaves. Did you have any idea this crazy blindside was going to happen, and how was it losing Anesu at that point in the game?
It was heart-wrenching. I didn't see that coming. I thought after Paul, listen, that was the last blindside I was going to experience, with Paul being voted out. But with Anesha being voted out, we were even closer. And because she was such a vital part of my social game as well, because I got a lot of the info through her that was going on in my enemies' minds, because she was so well connected with them. So that was an absolute low blow. And that was the activation of Operation Revenge within me. Like, I just wanted to destroy anything and everyone in front of me with every challenge, you know. So when that happened, it's so surreal that for a moment it feels like you're dreaming. The only other time I kind of experienced something similar to that in life is when you get surprised at a birthday party or something, you know, when I got a surprise 30th birthday party, and you walk into this room and you see all these people that you know, and they're like, surprise, and then for a few milliseconds it feels like, oh, okay, I'm going to wake up now, this is a dream. And then it's like your processor can't handle everything, and it glitches, you know. That's what I've kind of experienced with Anesu being voted out. And then you're very emotional because you didn't see that coming. But it was brilliant gameplay. Deep down inside, I was ready to take out a lot of players, but I didn't show it around camp. I was like, yeah, well done, guys. Good gameplay, you know. And I think it's very important that you don't let it get to your head and start controlling you, because that's where you make very stupid mistakes.
Yeah, that's, as you said, that's where Sean went wrong in his reactions to being blindsided like that. So,
exactly. Yeah. Give that credit where it's due. Yes, and you know, say that was a great move, but you better watch your back, because I'm going to win all the challenges, right? You know, it's a lot lighter than just going around the bush and just, you gotta cut this guy's throat now, you know. So tell the guys up straight, it's a game. Yeah, you won me this time. I'm gonna have to work some magic, but I'm out to get you, boy.
Yeah. Well, episode 12 is one of the most iconic episodes ever in Survivor South Africa, especially. And so this is where Chappies Diner starts, and this is where the insane Food Wars tribal happens. So walk us through that, and like using like the pass to send Anella back to camp and everything that went into this insane tribal council.
Yeah, so many things that happened, but you know, so where to start? Chappies Diner actually originated a lot earlier, because I was a bit more hungry than the other people. You know, I had to feed this machine that had to win a few challenges. So what I'd normally do, or how I would start it off, was like, the campfire was right next to the shelter, and then I would be the one up at night the latest, you know, and I'd be up the latest. Everyone would go to sleep, and before they go to sleep, I would ask them, does anyone want some tea? And if they said yes, they wanted some tea, I would make them some tea right there in front of them. I would serve them tea and they'd go to sleep. But if they didn't want tea, I would say, okay, I'm going to make myself some tea. But then I'll cook myself some rice right in front of them while everyone goes to sleep. And then that started, a few days earlier. And then I would just go kind of around the bush and go eat my rice, because I don't want them to catch me eating out of the tea kettle. And I would eat it out of the tea kettle, and I would go and wash this tea kettle nicely in the ocean. and I would just go take it back. But then also I started winning the challenges, and Warda brought in a rule, and she said, listen, so the rule from now on is if you won a challenge, you're going to forfeit your cup of rice. I thought that's a bullshit idea, but I didn't say it. I was like, okay, Warda, I'm just going to keep quiet, but tonight when you sleep, I'm going to go fetch my rice, and it comes with interest. And so I would then just, while everyone's sleeping, go get enough rice, because I worked hard for those challenges. I deserved the food that I won, and I deserved my cup of rice. That was very unfair that you took away my cup of rice. So, and then it was quite a lot of rice. So then I found this nice spot around the corner where I then started cooking the rice and combining it with my mussels and my crabs. And it was absolute bliss, because you hear the ocean in front of you. You see the stars above. You smell this amazing food that you're just about to eat, and you're going to eat until you're full, because that's one of the things you don't get to experience on Survivor that often. You don't get to eat until you're full. You just get to eat your cup of rice, and that's it. And you savor every moment, every morsel. But to be able to eat until you're full is an absolute privilege. And that's where I was like, I just dove into that, and I took in as much as I can on that. And I've got something special for you guys that I've lined up. So what I'm going to do is right at the end, after we've done, I went back to Chappies Diner about two years ago, and I made a little video with my wife there to show you where Vuna's camp was, how far Chappies Diner was from the camp. So I'm gonna play it on the screen a bit later, and then I'll also upload it to YouTube at some stage, because I haven't shared this publicly yet.
Wow!
But so you guys can actually just see where the diner was and how simple it was, but it was absolute bliss, because it was my alone time. And even though I love being between people, I love being alone as well. That's where I kind of recharge and start thinking about things. And that's also where I just thought of who I should align with next, and although the show portrays it differently, that's how Chappies Diner was discovered by the rest. It would not have been discovered if I didn't invite Kieran, my first guest, to the diner to have some nice rice, some stolen sweets, and a cigarette. So I picked up a pack of cigarettes there as well, and I don't normally smoke. But...
No. We have to go back to this. Wait,
back
what?
up.
Yeah, but so this, I don't think a lot of people know this, but I picked up a pack of cigarettes, and as one of the crew members actually dropped it. And I don't normally smoke, but I used to smoke back in the days when I was in high school, and I got these cigarettes, and they were the cigarettes with the mint crush balls.
Menthol, yeah.
Crush. It makes your throat feel so lovely. Man, so I thought that night, listen, I'm going to be alone at the diner. I'm going to enjoy a nice pot of food. I'm going to have myself some sweeties for dessert, and I'm going to fly high among the stars. And man, did I fly high, because that really hit me so hard. But it was so amazing, because I would, the first night I would just lay there, and after you'd eat a sweet and it would explode in your mouth, because you are so sugar deprived that it has got a much bigger effect on you than it normally does. And then right after this explosion of sweetness in my mouth, I would take a drag of the cigarette, and then you would start to kind of get that head rush, and you still hear the ocean, and you feel this amazing menthol in your throat. And by the way, this is not a cigarette ad, guys. This is, but that was so amazing just to experience that, to have these different type of stimulations on a very deprived body, because everything is like extra. And the first night I experienced it alone, And I think the second night as well. And third night, I thought, listen, I'm going to have to start getting strategic here, because I think by then, oh yeah, no. I can't remember if they voted out Santoni yet, but I wanted to get close to Kieran because I saw his read on the game and he was very clever. And so I invited him and I offered him a cup of rice and he ate. And I offered him some sweets and he ate. And I offered him a smoke and he didn't smoke. And then the next day, everyone found out there's a Chappies Diner. There's a pot there and all the rice is there. And yeah, I ran into trouble with the crew as well, because some sort of way, I don't know how, they found out I got them cigarettes. And they said I must give it back. And so I gave them back the pack of 20 cigarettes, but there was like 10 missing, you know. And I only smoked one or two. So I don't know where those were. But it was just at that moment I knew Kieran, spoiled the beans. And I was like, there's a big X on your back, boy. I'm not going to tell you, but it's there. But yeah, it was absolute bliss at the diner, just spending some time alone there. And when everyone else found out, all hell broke loose. If they didn't hate me by then, they definitely hated me after they knew I was eating myself like a full stomach every night on stolen rice. And yeah, luckily they didn't know about the coconuts by then, but that was also one of my most memorable moments in the game, was just the time alone at Chappies Diner.
Yeah.
Turns out the early Chappies gets the smokes.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Yeah, you do, but I don't think they would have allowed it to show that on TV, but also didn't want to show that because I am not a smoker in real life. And, not that you make your own decisions, but I also realized there's a lot of kids that's going to watch this, and I don't want to give them the go ahead to go and smoke. So that was one of the reasons I kind of kept it for myself. I'm very secretive, but it's one of a few interesting stories that I just like to tell the real big fans out there, because it's special. It makes some of the moments there even more special. And if I experienced it, and if I can draw you into experience a little bit of it, you get to feel a little bit more closer to what Survivor is, so much more than just what you see on screen.
Yeah, absolutely. So then Warda threatens to take the rice with her if she gets voted out, and you switch the rice out with a bag of sand like Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
We get to tribal and it just explodes even further. So walk us
Guys,
through
oh, now that you mentioned that again, man, that was the emotions that we experienced before and during that tribal. Because Warda actually found out that I swapped the bag of rice while we were in the waiting area before going to tribal council. So you wait in the area where you get mic'd up and so forth. And that was one of the longest waiting area experiences of my life, because she found it out. She found out there's a bag of sand in a bag, and she immediately knew it was me. It was like a sixth sense just told that it was me. But I was just sitting there and chilling and making sure I look in another direction, and I whistled, sang a song or two. But then she came to sit right in front of me. She crossed her legs and she sat this far in front of me, and she just looked me in the eyes like this. It's dead quiet. We've got some of the other contestants like just sitting right next to her. She's staring at me with all of this hatred and this. And I thought, all right, I'm not going to back down. I'm going to sit and I'm going to just stare with love at you. And I just stared at her with love, sending the message that I just wish you knew this is a game, and you shouldn't have taken the rice. It's just a game. don't get that emotional kind of what I was sending. But what I was getting is daggers, man. But yeah, it made such good TV. I was just not prepared or willing to let someone go with our bag of rice. I was not willing to let that go, because Chappies Diner will first of all have to close down, and then the rest of my tribe will go hungry, and myself as well. It's just too many. It's too many negatives. Can't let it happen. So we had to intervene, and I think it was desperate measures, but desperate times calls for them. So someone had to jump in and do it. So yeah, I don't regret it, because once again, you guys would not believe the excitement / nerves that you experience when you actually open someone's bag right behind them, and at any time they can just turn around and catch you red-handed. That was so exciting just to do that. But those are moments that I live for in life. It's like you get those type of opportunities just every now and then, and if you don't utilize them, you're going to regret that you didn't make use of them. So yeah, it was not ill-intentioned to swap it with a bag of sand. I just wanted her to go home, open up the bag back at home, and see, okay, well, someone's been a step ahead. But that didn't work out like that, and I also didn't want us to go sleep hungry. Yeah, so there were so many reasons behind doing that. And I thought, make great TV as well. Let's do it.
It definitely did.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'm just thinking about those cigarettes now. Sorry, I just blew my mind.
One of you, are you guys smokers or not?
No,
I think Michael is.
I've been trying to hold off ever since. Yeah, just a vape, not proper cigarette, not anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's just amazing you had to give those cigarettes back, and some were missing, because, as you said on the show, how do you count sand? How do you count rice? How do you count cigarettes? We have no idea.
How do you do? But it's so cool.
So you just went through a trial at tribal council, but at the next challenge, all the loved ones show up, and you get to see your wife. So what was it like to be reunited with her, and how did it help fuel you?
Oh yeah, that was definitely the most emotional moment of my entire survival experience, because the deeper you move into the game, the more dead your family becomes to you in a certain degree. You miss them so much, but you can't remember how they smell anymore. You can't remember that clearly, how they kind of feel when you hug them, how they sound, how they make you feel when they're in your presence. And then to be exposed to them, then all of a sudden, just that is a priceless feeling that you cannot put into words at the moment. And then obviously she was still pregnant with our first child, our son. I think she was 7 months pregnant then. So they would be the last things, the last people I think about when I go to bed at night. I'm just like, doesn't matter if I win or not. If I win or not, I still have my win back at home. I still have my unborn child that I'm going to see, and I still have my wife. So they were the last people at night, the last idea I would have before I go to sleep, to kind of just keep me going for another day or two. So to see her again was such a explosion of emotions that I didn't even know existed, and that I didn't even know I could experience. So the type of cry you have there is unexplainable. It's like your soul cries out of joy and out of relief, because the person is not dead. And even she said it felt like I was kind of dead, in a sense. So imagine imagine seeing the person that you love dearly that's already passed away in one of your lives, and imagine you've got a few minutes to see them again. And I think that's the closest I can get you guys to experience what I felt in that moment, to hug that person again, and to feel that everything is going to be okay. You feel this bubble of love around you, that they don't have any ill intentions to vote you out or to backstab you or to they don't have any ill intentions. They just want to love you. You're just in that moment. And that was so special. And what it means to you as a player to experience that, it fills up your fuel tank. It encourages you to go on for so many more days. So that's one of the most beautiful sections of Survivor that I underestimated so much. So much. Because normally when I looked at that in the past, sometimes you'd like cringe of the people crying. You know, you won't understand why they would cry the way they do. But I will never look at that the same again. Seeing your family members in a game like that, in a game as harsh as Survivor, is one of the best things, one of the greatest gifts the producers can give you. So if you make it to family visit, you are absolutely so privileged, because that in itself is a win. You will never look at that family member the same again, because they've died and they've been resurrected, and you can actually spend some time with them, you know, and you can spend the rest of your life with them as well, with that kind of idea in mind that you'd never want to lose them again. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Oh, it does. And then with her there, it helps fuel you to win. And then you get one of the most unique rewards ever, because you get to choose the two people you're going up against in the next immunity. So how do you feel about that twist? Well, because obviously it definitely helped you, but how do you feel about that twist?
Yeah, that was amazing. That was amazing. I couldn't believe what I heard, you know, that if you win that, you'll be able to choose the people, because that's a lot of power.
Yeah,
that's really a lot of power. And my reasoning behind choosing Santoni and Anela that time was obviously because I had a close relationship with Santoni. I wanted her to, if there was someone to at least have a chance to win it, the immunity, it would have been her. And then I wanted to choose the player that I thought I had the biggest probability of winning against, and that was Anela. But I don't know how I made that decision, because it could have turned out, you know, that Anela could have won that as well. But between Anela and Tyson at that moment, and Nicole, I kind of thought that Anela was the person that I had better chances of beating. But once again, it was like the momentum was once again in one's favor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if someone else, someone other than Santoni or I won that, I would definitely not have been able to take part in that immunity challenge, and I would have been voted out next. So, and my wife also being there, she had to be there, because at that stage, she's a very good ballroom dancer, and she knows what's the important part breathing plays in balancing and focusing. And she just reminded me the whole time, listen, focus on your breath, breathe, because at some stage I started to like wiggle like crazy. I thought, oh, this is going to be the end. I would listen to her and then focus on my breath, and then would wiggle, and then it would kind of slow down and stabilize again. And that would happen a few times, but it was so important for her to be there and to guide me through that challenge. And it just, once again showed me that the right people will be in your life at the right times in order to assist you to get through certain challenges sometimes. I don't think I would have been able to win that challenge on my own. It was a few seconds that I had to last longer, and without my wife, I don't think I would have been able to do it. And that's also, I can honestly say that she won that challenge for me by just helping me focus on what I had to focus on in that moment. And then the the decision to, or the power to choose who's going to take part in the next immunity challenge, that was just an absolute blessing bonus. Like, that was just a bonus.
Amazing.
So the plans for the next tribal council blow up completely when Anella decides to tell Kieran that he was originally planning on blindsiding him. So Kieran's going to play his idol at this tribal. Nicole's going to play her fire idol, leading to a fire challenge between Santoni and Tyson. So walk us through that crazy tribal council.
Oh man, everything just unraveled over there. Like, it's almost as if you cannot believe what's happening in front of you. Do you want to hit some people with the head and say, what were you thinking? But, that's what happens the further you go down into the game. It's people start losing grip on rational thinking. And that's what makes it interesting as well. So, yeah, I was so confused with that. We obviously thought of Santoni that she might end up making fire because we worked out everything, and we thought that she might end up making fire with Anela. Was it with Anela, right? No, with Tyson.
With Tyson.
Yeah, with Tyson. So I tried to teach her how to make fire as well before, so that we can improve our chances of actually winning a fire challenge. But then that night as well, it wasn't destined to be to win the fire. The wind didn't play along. Tyson got the fire a lot quicker. She struggled, and she doesn't operate that well under that type of pressure, And it was absolute chaos. Just Anela's moves as well, telling Kieran that he wanted to vote him out. And it's like things happen that you would never imagine it's going to happen. But that's what the game does to you. The normal decisions that you make in real life tend to go out the door the deeper you move into the game. You start to make some irrational moves. For some people, a lot earlier than others. But for Anela, the wheels started going off, the deeper he moved into the game. And it was clearly visible for all of us, because for us, it was like, that is such a rookie move, You don't go tell the guy who wanted to vote him out. Like, yeah. So, but it was absolute chaos. But once again, interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So then the final 5 round, you win the challenge with the ball puzzle, as we mentioned earlier, and
Yes.
Kieran is voted out at final 5. So what went into that decision to get Kieran out?
Oh man, Kieran was the biggest threat. He had that X painted on him because of telling on Chappies Diner. Yeah. If you're a guest there, you don't give it away, boy. And that was like the first opportunity I got to vote up Kieran. I was going to definitely invest in that, and that was an absolute no-brainer, because that guy was he's so intelligent and such a big threat. And I really underestimated him until the blindside with Anesu, and until I saw how he kind of told on me with Chappies Diner. So, Kieran had to go. I was so happy to win that challenge, because he was very close to winning that challenge as well. I think we were kind of neck and neck. But thank goodness I did my homework on some of the previous games.
So you also get to speak with Anesu at this special breakfast and have a conversation with a jury member. So what was it like to take Anesu on that and learn about the jury and what they were thinking of your game, and discuss the game with someone who was already out at that point? And you also decided to remove water from the jury, which, based on what you said earlier, I think was probably an easy decision for you.
Yeah. Having that breakfast with Anesu really meant the world to me, because for 2 reasons. Because I really missed her, being around her, and then also just to get some info. And I knew that she was on my side. She was vouching for me at the jury. So, and then she was also the more liked one between Santoni and Anesu. She was the more liked one among them. Because yeah, just because of the way she was grounded and connected with all of the other people. Not that Santoni was not, but she was just more the radical, fiery one. So I just thought Anesu is going to be my best chance of actually getting to know what's going on there, and to get some well-needed advice as to how I could improve my chances of winning the jury if we were to get to a final tribal council. And yeah, it was kind of a shock to hear that majority of the jury members didn't like my game, and it was also a very misperception, I think, of my game. Understandably, but it also kind of links to the misperception that people had of who I am as an individual. Also, I can understand why. But yeah, it was really meaningful. It was such a cool breakfast, and I think if I had the opportunity to go to the final tribal immunity and pitch my case, it would have definitely helped me to sway some of the jury members, because she told me to own up to some of the things I'd done wrong as well. And that I appreciated of Anesu. She had the ability to look at it from a very neutral perspective and say, listen, but maybe you should just apologize for that you've done wrong, and explain people your intention behind this and that, because you've really rubbed a few people the wrong way, maybe unintentionally. Sometimes it was just consequences of bad decisions, but maybe you should just own up. And in that way, I really appreciated it, and I think it would have really swayed a vote or two in my favor if I were to reach final tribal council.
Well,
and once again, a lot of people, sorry, I interrupted you there, Matt. Once again, a lot of people thought that was such an unfair kind of reward to have, but it just seemed unfair because I was starting to win all of the challenges. If it was another person who had that ability to tap into some of the jury's minds, that would have been kind of cool and interesting. But I think because I was on such a roll, it might have just seemed scripted. Like, man, these producers just want this guy to win. They're letting him win this challenge and that challenge. And then, strange enough, the complete opposite was said right at the final challenge.
Well, if they wanted to let you keep winning, they would have let you keep those cigarettes because they would mess up your lungs. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you say that you didn't make final tribal because at the final 3 tribal, you find out that it's a final 2 instead of a final 3. So what was going through your mind at that reveal, and how did it affect your decision to vote for Anela?
Oh man, that was such a low blow, because when you train for like something like a race that you're going to do, you've got a certain strategy that you want to implement. And like let's use a athletic kind of race as an example. If you run the 1,500 meters race, some people plan to start strong and then just maintain their speed. Others plan to start like neutral and at right at the end kind of go for it. That was my strategy the whole game. I wanted to start neutral and then right at the end freaking win challenge after challenge until they can't stop me anymore. And so if you reach the finish line and you thought, listen, this was the final 100 meters that you had to run to complete the 1,500 meter race, but they tell you, no, listen, you've still got to go another round. That's kind of devastating because you've already given it your everything. And that's what happened to me the moment they said, listen, there's one more challenge. I already prepared my final tribal council speech in my head, because I knew my chances were quite high against Anela and Nicole. I just felt that their games were nowhere compared to mine because of all of the stuff that happened behind the scenes that they didn't know of, that I could bring to jury and so forth. They didn't stand a chance against my tribal council pitch in my mind, right? So I started working on that. And then to have that bomb drop that, listen, it's not final 3, it's final 2. But that also coming with opportunity of maybe setting a new record in challenges. That was like catch 22. That was like, listen, you might be able to set a new like record. So that's amazing. That could work. But you also might lose everything with this next challenge. And then at that stage, I thought that Tyson was the bigger challenge beast. Looking back now, should have taken out Nicole. Should have taken out Nicole. I think looking back, that's most probably only something I've realized afterwards, how dangerous Nicole was in keeping her on for that challenge. Because if it was myself, Tyson, and Anela, chances are I would have won that last challenge, because Tyson had an injured leg or something like that. He was also taking a lot of strain because of just the physicality of the game and the malnutrition. So I am 90% sure that I could have won that last challenge if Nicole wasn't part of it. So, but just long story short, that's why I then wanted to vote out Tyson, but then I changed my plan and then wanted to vote out Anela, because I thought the last challenge might have a puzzle, and I thought Anela is going to be better with puzzles than Tyson, because at the final 4 challenge, he was the one closest to beating me with the puzzle, the block puzzle. We were neck and neck. So that's my reasoning behind it. I thought, listen, it might have a puzzle in. Let's vote out Anela. And Tyson thought I was just fooling him again. And I understand why, because I did lie to him earlier that day. I did tell him we're going to vote for Anela, but we were actually planning on voting out Tyson. But he didn't trust me by then. So he could have still stayed in the game. And if it was between Tyson and Nicole as a final tribal council, because that might have happened if Anela was voted out, that would have been very interesting. I actually think Tyson might have had the opportunity to win the game. And that just shows you, it just comes down to one decision that he could have made. He must have just voted Anela with us, but he didn't in that moment. He didn't feel like doing it. And then we end up Nicole, Anela, and I with a final challenge.
Yeah. Well, let's get to it. So unfortunately, you lose this final challenge. And did you think you had any chance of convincing Nicole to keep you once she won?
Yeah. I really thought, listen, I maybe underestimated Nicole in that degree, because I thought I might be able to tell her that's going to count in a benefit if she takes me through, And once again, I think if she took me through, I would have most probably won a lot of votes, because just my game compared to hers was, I had a much bigger, better repertoire, I believe. But on the other hand, it might have been seen as very bold and very brave for Nicole to do that from the jury's point of view. So I'm not too sure, but I still believe I would have come out on top in that hypothetical situation when Nicole took me through. But I tried to woo this girl. I'm telling you, I tried to tell her it won't be a good idea if you take through Anela, you gotta take me, but very subtly. But I still respect your decision, and I really tried to play the psychological game there without making her feel that I want to make the decision for her. And up to this day, I'm still not too sure how close she was actually taking me through. That would be interesting to know, on a scale of, of just percentage-wise, how much did she lay more towards Anela, keeping Anela than me? That would be very interesting to hear that from Nicole. But she made the right decision for herself. If I was in her shoes, I would have definitely made the same decision,
Yeah.
So and out of between Anela and Nicole, my vote also went for Nicole.
And you threw the coconuts back as well on your way out.
Oh, guys, yes, yeah, I almost forgot about that. That was just like the cherry on the cake, the cake being an amazing experience that I've had. And I was really content with my experience to then. And I felt like I won the game in so many aspects than just winning the title. The experiences that I took with me, the friendships that I built up. It was in just comparing the experience with what I thought it was going to be was something out of this world. So yeah, by that time I was just like, it was me checking out and just putting the cherry on the cake, and also just letting them know I'm fine with the decision. It's fine,
Yeah.
This game, the ending, the outcome doesn't define me or who I am. It was freaking fun. Let's close this board game and maybe see you guys around the table next time.
Yeah.
That was the kind of, just had to end it off with some spice.
Well, it's interesting you say that because hopefully we'll be speaking to Nicole on the podcast, so we'll be sure to ask that question to her.
Yeah.
That would be
In
very
fact,
interesting.
she was messaging me during this podcast, so we will be speaking with her. So I will ask her that question.
Please ask her that
They'll
question.
let
That
you
would be
know.
so interesting, and maybe ask her if I had the slightest, or if my conversations with her actually had a bit of an influence in swaying the decision more towards my side or not. That would be interesting to hear.
I will let you know.
Yeah, we look forward to that. So yeah, as you say, you go to the jury as the fallen angel of the season. What were your thoughts on the final two, and what went into your decision to vote for Nicole in the end?
Yeah, it was interesting. We had I had a day or two upon the Rosa, and the mutual feeling was very ironic in the sense that we had this amazing season with a lot of strong characters, but all of the apex characters were voted out, and now we kind of had the characters that we least expected is going to end up right at the end, and we had to decide between these two people who we thought played a more honorable game, and for majority of us it was just Nicole. And I think a thing that really counted against Anela was he's unraveling more towards the end, but it also happened a bit earlier in the game where he unraveled in one or two ways that we haven't necessarily mentioned. But for as players, we really frown upon it, on some of the things that happen. It was just like, it was frowned upon. I don't want to put him down, but between his game and Nicole's game just stood out a bit more for us. Or I mustn't say it stood out, but Anela's game we frowned upon. And in that sense, logically, Nicole's game stood up. And also the thing with Anela, I think, was he was so oblivious to how his game actually was perceived by the jury members. And it's kind of interesting because I might have been the same. I might have also been very oblivious towards, or as to how my game was perceived by the jury members. But Anela really thought he played a massive good game and that he won majority of the jury members. And that was also a very interesting psychological aspect for me, to see how someone can be so convinced that they have played a certain way and that other people are going to perceive it as well. And that's where you can't be careful enough. You can't be careful enough. Like, you might think it's one way and it can be completely the opposite, and that's why I think then Nicole won hands down, votes wise.
That makes sense. So then we get to your second game. So you end up returning in Return of the Outcasts. What was it like to be asked back for South Africa's only returnee season? And did you know you'd have like this massive target on your back going in, or like were you hopeful that you could dodge that target and like make it a little bit further.
Yeah, it was an absolute privilege to be asked back again. And for Survivor, for me, has always had I've had a very kind of spiritual experience with it, in the sense that I had dreams before I went on my first one. I had dreams before I got called up for the second one that I was going back in a specific date, and that happened on that date that I was called back. So it's things that's unexplainable. That's kind of supernatural for me. So in that sense, I knew I had to go. I had to go on the second season. And obviously, the paranoia was there that I might be voted out first. But I chose to be more optimistic and thought, listen, maybe they will want to play with me because my game is the freshest in everyone's mind. Maybe they would like to help me build the diner because I do need some investors. You know, but yeah, it unfortunately didn't work out that way. But even that experience was like a test for me, because the first time around I said, listen, it's not about winning, it's just about the experience that you gain, whether you're out first or last. And then Survivor gods are like, all right, we're going to put you to the test. Is that so? Okay, let's put you to the test. You're going to be voted out first now. Let's see how you handle that, man. And that was devastating. Yes, that was definitely the hardest blow. If I had to compare it to all my other blind sites, that was the hardest blow. Having this expectation of going in again and maybe winning it this time, and then you cut off by the knees with the first freaking tribal council. But in its own right, it was still a special experience, because I had to put that what I've learned the first time I had to put it to the test, in the sense that did I really believe it's not just about your position, that it's about the experience. And that kind of gave me the opportunity to really dive deep. But it did have a kind of a personal effect on me, because in my personal life as well, during that time, I went through a lot of struggles business wise, career change, moving from one industry to the next. I was still between a rock and a hard place. Didn't know what to do. So now to get that low blow as well, after all of your family members knew you were going again, some of the close family members, and they had this expectation to come back with that disappointment, dealing with the disappointment of the loved ones, your loved ones, is almost greater than the disappointment of being voted out, because you feel you disappointed them and you really had this expectation of bringing back the title this time and having another cool, amazing journey. Don't know whatever it's going to be, but it's going to be great. So that was really a hard blow. But once again, I believe it happens for a reason. Just like I wasn't supposed to go on season 7. I was not supposed to go on season 7 because it would not have been such a great journey for me. It would not have had such an impact, right? So that's why I was not supposed to be cast. Same reason I had to be voted out first in season 8. We don't know the exact reason why, but 3 or 4 or 5 years down the line from now, I'm going to look back and I'm going to know exactly why I had to be voted out first the second time around. It was because I was destined to win All Stars.
Yeah, I mean,
There we go.
As a fan, though, I mean, a lot of big threats get taken out in All-Star seasons really early, and you're not the only one that had that unfortunate thing happen to you the second time around. So,
Yeah. Sorry.
No
problem, Matt. You can talk.
Oh, I was going to say, speaking of All-Stars, I've talked with a bunch of people from Return of the Outcasts, and it seemed like nobody really knew who was going to be on the season. So was there anybody you were expecting to see or that you were surprised was actually there?
Yeah, well, strange enough, in some of the dreams I had, I saw a few faces, and the faces I saw in the dreams was that of Steffi and Tanya. That was part of the season. So when I saw them, I was like really shocked, because I then thought, listen, the stars are aligned even more because I knew these ladies are going to be here and I was probably going to align with them in some sort of way. And Steffi and I did connect because of previous life relationships. But yeah, I was shocked to see, I didn't know Challenge Beast Phil. I didn't know him that well. So I saw him there because he was part of much earlier seasons. You know, saw Dino there and I was like kind of shocked as well, but also in a sense not because he's such a big fan. And so seeing Dante there, yeah, Dante. So there were a few people that was like shocked. What was Tijan? Seeing Tijan there,
Yeah.
and then also Shane, Marion. Like I was actually shocked with a lot of people except for Steffi and Tanya.
Yeah.
If only you and Dante could have actually finally had that swimming match.
Oh yeah, that would have been fun to watch.
Bring it on, Dante. I'm still the swimming beast, man. You voted me out, but I'll take you in the water, boy.
Well, I've also talked with Phil, and he said he wants to throw his name into the ring too because he's also a swimming beast.
Phil, bring it on, Philly. Yeah, it'll be really interesting. I must say, I'm up for a challenge, and you must go up against the best. You know, it doesn't mean that much if you win against people that aren't that good. So bring up the best of the best. Let's have those challenges and let's just finally settle the score.
There can only be one Aquaman, yeah.
That's right, Michael. You got that right.
Well, maybe you can come back again and get another nickname because you have like 7 different nicknames.
That's right, but I mean, it's you got to take on the character that's needed in the moment, right? Like it's otherwise it's going to be too boring.
Yeah.
Well, you've never been boring, Chappies.
Oh, thanks, Michael.
So to wrap things up here, our last question is to ask: who would be in your Hall of Fame of Survivor players? One strategic, one social, one physical, and an all-rounder that encompasses everything.
One strategic. Yes. Okay. Strategic, I would say definitely George, Mr. George from Survivor Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Physical, I would say this guy Chappies from Survivor South Africa. Yeah.
Never heard of him.
He kind of won a lot of challenges in a row, you know. No, I would honestly put myself there physically because just of the challenges. But if I had to put someone else there physically as well, there's not a lot of people that I actually. It might be I think Brooke from Australia.
Yeah.
She's a freaking beast.
Yeah.
She's a beast that gave some of the guys hiding. So she might be up there. And then socially, I must tell you, I think she's very underestimated. But from our season, Santini, like socially, that lady is so in tune with people. So she'll definitely be up there because she's so underestimated but so in tune. And then if it might have been an international person socially. No, you know what? I'm just going to leave it to Santini. Yeah. And then overall, I would say it's the person that I kind of studied a lot before the game is Mr. Tony Lachos because I feel just he had a little bit of spice everywhere, you know.
Yeah.
And he also, he showed me what it looks like to enjoy the game. He was my inspiration to have fun confessionals because when I watched his season, especially the Winners at War season, I couldn't wait to see his confessions. It was so fun. It seemed like this guy was a child in a toy shop, in a candy shop, and he couldn't wait to just tell you what kind of candy he's just seen and what it tastes like. And I couldn't wait for his confessions, and that really rubbed off on me. I was like, look at this guy, and then compare it to this boring guy's confession, and then which one do you want to see again? Now, which one seems like they're enjoying the game the most? And Tony won that hands down for me. He was like the guy that I just looked up to. Being bold, taking risks, playing social game, being as physical as he can, although he wasn't that good, but I think that the biggest thing that stood out for me of Tony was he took some risks and he was creative, and I love that about him, and he enjoyed every moment. And that's what it's about. It's a once in a lifetime experience. Don't be damn boring there beyond, giving your confessions. You must really try and bring it home for the people watching through the screen. And the only way you do that is by giving as much as you can, being as real as you can in front of this camera, and spice it up a bit.
Yeah, I'm also a huge Tony fan, so I
same.
totally...
He's my favorite winner ever.
Yeah.
Well,
yes.
maybe Tony was looking out for you because you found your natural spy nest. So, yeah.
You never know. Tony, yes. I think that's the thing as well. As Survivor players, you don't always realize what an influence you have on other people in the world. And what influence your story will have, because a few years from now, we might see Dave opening up Dave's Diner in another season or something, and that's just how we should, as individuals and as players, kind of inspire each other to go and really try something fresh, go live in the game of Survivor, go and experience all your dreams and desires in the game. And then us as fans are going to keep staying entertained.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of my final questions is, if you could pick 1 to 3 words to describe your Survivor legacy, what would those 1 to 3 words be?
1 to 3 words. I would say refreshing, entertaining, and refreshing, entertaining, and bold. No,
all good choices.
Yeah.
And then my final question is this: you've already touched on some of the things you look back on, but my favorite question to always ask a Survivor is, when you think about your time on Survivor and you close your eyes, what image do you see?
Oh, wow. I see this mysterious jungle that just awaits. A mysterious jungle filled with adventure, and you just have to go peek behind some of the leaves to get a taste of that adventure. And it's adventure that you haven't tasted in your life before. It's adventure that you do not know exists. And with that comes a lot of unknown, dark emotions as well. But it's a privilege to experience them, because as human beings, we forget what it is to feel alive. And some of those emotions make us realize once again what it is to feel alive. So, yeah, it's a lot of words, but it's just this jungle of mystery filled with adventure that's just waiting for you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, my final question and the final question we have here for this interview is, if people want to follow you on social media, Chappies, where can they follow you?
So they can just follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Obviously, if they type in Chappies, they'll most probably find me, Chappie Survivor. My name is Francois Chapman. So if they can't find me on Chappies, they can just find me there. And yeah, they'll see some of the exciting, refreshing things that I do in life as well. We're in the real estate industry, so the entertainer in me also believes that that you should find a way to still express yourself, and we do it by means of our marketing videos in real estate. So we do some crazy stuff in houses, and that's nice for me to bring that to the market, because it's something really fresh. Some people don't like it, but we get to live our showmanship through some of these videos and just have fun, and we get to sell homes at the same time. It's a bonus. So yeah, they'll see us there on social media.
Awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, thank you so much, Chappies. This has been amazing to get to talk to you and talk to another one of my favorite players of all time. So
it's just a pleasure, guys. Just before we go,
yeah.
Do you have a few more minutes? I'm going to give you a little.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
What's up, guys? Chappies here, and we decided to come visit my old home, aka Vuna. So for all the Survivor fans, I'm going to share some of the behind-the-scenes secrets and the experiences I had here at the Vuna beach. So let's run to the old Vuna camp, and you guys can have a look at how it was set up and where Chappies Diner started, and where I had my first rice spot secretly alone. Let me just show you. So this is the front door of Vuna. Over here is the front door of Vuna. Before going into the camp, I actually want to show you where I had my first night's supposed rest, because it was raining. So Paul Caputo and myself, we were lying under these trees while I was dripping, and man, we were so tired, but you can't sleep because the rain just keeps on dripping. So this bed of leaves served as some cushion from the ground, the cold wet ground, but it was very uncomfortable. So let's go into the front door of Vuna. This brings back so many memories. So here's the front door of Vuna, and bam! Here we've got Vuna. Obviously it looks, you can see there's not been any house cleaning for a long time. But if you look over here, right over there was Vuna's camp. So all the bamboo beds were set up here. And right over here was where the fire was. So how Chappies Diner started is, I would normally, before the people go to sleep, I would offer everyone a cup of tea. And if someone put up their hand for a cup of tea, I would then make them tea. But if no one put up their hand for a cup of tea, I would make myself a kettle of rice. So I would put some rice in the kettle, put it around the fire, and cook it over here, right in front of everyone sleeping. And then I would walk just outside Vuna's front door, under a little bush over there, and have my first rice meal. And man, I've never been so grateful for cooked rice like I was then. All right, so let's just go. Yeah, I want to show you. One night it was also one of the first nights. It was very rainy, a big thunderstorm, and this big tree behind me actually got hit by lightning. And I'll show you one or two of the marks that you can see where it's been hit by lightning. So if you look up there, you'll see that it's all blackish. So there is a mark. This tree's got about 3 or 4 marks like that. It's blackish, it's burned. You can see there's a lot of volts that really burned through that tree. But yeah, that was so scary. So to hear the lightning so close by, Mike, he was also part of the Vuna, original Vuna tribe. He actually screamed like a girl. Mike, you will also acknowledge, you will correct me if I'm wrong. But man, we all had such a fright. And Mike was like,
Production! I'm not going to die!
And then someone just told him, listen, bro, this is Survivor. This is part of the game. You signed up for this. And yeah, we were really scared that night. And Mike had reason to shout like a girl. Over here is just a space where we constructed most of the camp. Well, yeah, most of the structure, the shelter. Put on leaves and split bamboos over here. Man, this brings back so many memories. We'd also use some of these trees to hang some of our clothes to dry. Well, it never got dry because it was rainy for most of the season. All right, let me just take you to the little secret posse where I had my first kettle of rice all by myself. So I'd go out Bruna's front door, just take a sharp right, and then you'll find little bushes here on your right hand side, and just over here I'd come and sit here, just protected from the wind, and I'll have a lekker kettle of rice all by my own. And I would just think back to the home and how much I miss proper food, and would also just hope that no one comes around the corner. But everyone was asleep, and it was so dark, and it gets so dark at night that you won't see anyone sitting here. It's not far into the bushes, but you won't see anyone sitting here. Right, let me take you to Chappies Diner. It's actually just about 30 meters on. Yo, and I would walk over here. Every day we had to collect briarwood, well, firewood. And you take the machete and you chop some of these dead trees down, with these bushes. And they made for lack of fire. Oh, this was just so amazing. Takes me right back to those crazy, amazing moments. Almost at the front door of Chappies Diner. So you can also see some firewood lying here. It wasn't here when we were here, so must have been some other people here as well. But Chappies Diner is just in here now, and it's a little bit into the bushes, but also not too far in and hidden from the rest of the people. So the night I decided I'm going to grab my pot and going to make a fire, I just came, made a little fire here, and sometimes I had to use flint and start the fire again from here. Other times I would take a coal from the regional fire and just come and set up a proper fire here. But I had my little poikie here, and I would sit here, got my mussels and my crabs one side, and I used like a piece of wood as a chopping board, and then the machete. And I would cut some onions, roast the onions in the poikie, and then have my salt water as well. Cook lekker mussels, crabs, and then it was just so amazing to be sitting here, sheltered from the wind, hearing the waves in the background, and knowing that everyone's asleep and that I'm going to have a full course meal. That was amazing. So obviously there's some sweets that landed in my pocket as well as some of the rewards. So I had my full course meal with my dessert at the end. So I would take a jelly bean, and if I ate the jelly bean, it would just explode in my mouth. I would just lay back, take a deep breath, and then just view the stars, and then think back to my loved ones, and just remind myself how privileged I was to be part of this, to have this experience and be part of this game. And yeah, it was one very, very special, amazing chapter in my life that I will never forget. I actually thought I wondered whether some of you guys, some of the major Survivor fans, would love an experience like this. So let me know, DM me, send me a message or whatever, comment on this story or on this post, and let me know how you'd feel to have like a mini Survivor experience that's going to last over about 7 days, where you also have some footage you're going to take back as memory. But the main thing is you're going to be exposed to the elements as I was, and you're going to discover a deeper part of yourself, and you're going to find so much meaning in the experience. So let me know if you're up for something like that, because that's something that we might be able to put together to give you guys just a little taste of this beautiful experience that we had. Welcome to Chappies Diner. Over here I would store some of my sugar cane. When I collected a lot of sugar cane, I would just store it behind these trees. And then also a lot of coconuts were stored over here. And then also there was also a coconut storage right across Chappies Diner. Let me show you that quickly. So you gotta, when you run a diner, you gotta know how to keep the food going. You can't run out of coconuts and such. So coconuts should just be around the corner. So over here, I would look that side, hide behind this bush, have a few coconuts, make sure no one's seeing, and then I would start digging, and then put the coconut in here, check again, dig coconut, and then it's very close to Chappies Diner. It's 20 meters away. So if ever there's a lot of people at the diner and I needed coconuts, I could just come and grab some coconuts. This brings back so much memories. All right, let me go show you where myself and the rest of the tribe had to try and sleep the first 3 nights. It was rainy, we were hungry, it was cold, we were wet. We didn't have a proper shelter, so that didn't help. So then we noticed these caves right in front of me. We decided we're going to dash to the caves and see if there's maybe more shelter from the wind and the rain. And yeah, it was like a double-edged sword, because you'd have to run to the cave and then you'll be soaking wet. And then when we arrived there, there was a little fire that was going. But in order to keep the fire going, you got to keep on collecting firewood. And then all the firewood is freaking wet as well, so you can't keep the fire going. And then slowly but surely you'll just see the fire die out, and you're freezing cold, and you can't do anything about it. Something within you just starts accepting that the fire is going to die now, and even though you're cold now and wet, you're going to be even more cold, and you're going to be even more wet. So this is like a big part of, I don't know what you call it, but it's like a big part of the mountain where some of the sand gave in over the years, and the high tide washed some of the sand away, and it forms these kind of half caves. Just really interesting. Here you'll see some fountain water dripping. It's actually very clean water. So I can remember this little encavement. Mike also wanted to sleep here one night, and he actually managed to lay there, but you can see there's not a lot of space there for too many people. So he would just lay here, put a fire there, and just try and sleep here. And you still feel the wind coming. Luckily we're protected from the rain, but you'll still see the water dripping over here inside every now and then. So still not completely dry. And then over here was one of the big encavements that we as a tribe tried to sleep under. So it's about 3 meters deep, 1, 2, 3. But you actually only really got protection from the rain if you were under this little section here, which is like 1 meter deep. Now you had to sleep about 10 people in this little section, because anywhere outside of this section you'll get all wet and cold even more. And the sand, although it seems soft, it becomes very hard once you lay on it for too long. But I can remember one particular moment when we were here, and we were all just, well, not all, most of us were crying around the fire, and thinking about, thinking back to home. And this was the 3rd day. I can still remember our nephew also next to me, and we're like crying, like, why did you sign up for this? And then we reminded ourselves that this is a once in a lifetime experience, and that you're never going to have it again. So you must soak up even the worst parts of it. And that's really made it special as well. Just crying together and experiencing that moment where you're so cold. At one moment, I can remember just like blinking my eyes, and I'm so tired and so cold and so just exhausted that when I opened my eyes again, I almost fell into the fire as well, pulling a Dino move, because the moment you blink, you fall asleep for a few milliseconds, and when the moment you open your eyes, you're like, how the hell did I get here? And that's what a lot of rain and no food and what discomfort can do to you in a few days. And even though it was one of the most difficult experiences, it was definitely one of the most valuable experiences of my life as well. Just being surrounded by nature and being brought back to what really matters. You know, the longer you stayed in the game, the more parts of your ego started to peel off, until there's only the core left. And I believe it's who we are. It's the unconditional love that you are and that I am, that you start discovering if you are in a harsh environment like this for long enough. And then you realize that you do not need the fancy vehicle that you're driving back home. Your business does not have to be successful. You do not have to have the perfect body. You do not have to have the biggest home. You just need a fire, a little bit of shelter, a fish or something to eat, some food, and then your loved ones. And that became so real for me. So if ever I have to reach that point where, and I don't hope that's going to happen, but if ever I have to reach that point where I have to lose everything I own, I know what waits on the other side of that line, and that's just pure bliss, because you don't need those stuff. So yeah, that was just a little tour of the Vuna camp and my experience here. But let me know in the comments if you would like to experience something similar, because we might be able to make a plan. I want a skinny dip now. And obviously we've got to end this off the right way, right? What would a camp tour be without a proper skinny dip? And there you have it. If you'd like to have a similar experience, including the skinny dip, leave a comment on the video or send me a DM. We can make it happen. Chappies over and out. On our way back from Chappies Diner and the Vuna Beach, and we actually saw this spot, and you might recognize it. This was one of the most emotional moments that I actually experienced in the game. So that little bush should give you an idea. And there was a challenge right over here. So if you still don't know what it is, what we've experienced here, it was actually home visit. And I stood right here. And I kind of had the feeling that it might be a home visit, because I think it was around day 32. And then obviously the loved ones came out behind that tree. Yes, and when I saw my wife, you know, there's no words to describe what you feel. The closest example, or the example that I can give you to try and explain what I experienced, is if you think of a loved one that you've lost, you know, even years ago, and you think how much you miss them. If they were raised from the dead and they appeared right in front of you again, how would you feel, you know? Would you embrace them, run up to them? And that's exactly how I felt when I saw my wife again, because being away from home for that long and not seeing your partner or your loved one kind of slowly makes it feel like they are dying, or they already died, because although you know, you forget how they smell, you forget how they laugh, you forget how you feel when you're with them. When you see them again, it's as if they've been raised from the dead, and you can relive that moment. So right over here, my wife ran out over there, and we embraced around at this corner, and I had the ugliest cry of my life, but it was a cry from the soul and a cry from the heart, and it was so special. And I thought I knew how much I loved my wife when we got married, but I didn't. I actually knew how much I loved her when she was raised from the dead, and I was able to see again after 40 plus days, because obviously we were isolated before the game as well and we couldn't see them. And yeah, that just solidified our relationship even more. So this will always be a very, very special moment for me. Love you, Boki.
Well, yeah, thanks so much again, Chappies, for this. This has been amazing. So with that, we will see you all next time on the Tribe of Nerds.